Hello, my name is Claire Schneider. Welcome to part 2 in our ENGin series on mini groups. In the first video, we talked about the nuts and bolts of setting up a group. In this video, I'd like to talk about 3 other aspects to facilitating mini groups, just to give you some new ideas if you'd like. The first part of the video, I'm going to talk about goal setting, followed by how to keep students engaged, and finally, we'll talk about a few extra resources in case they're useful. So the first part, goal setting. We need to think about goal setting for the group as a whole and also as individuals. So the students can together decide on their group goals. They might come up with things like, we all want to improve our fluency and our confidence. Or we all intend to do our best to attend every live session. Or a third one might be, we agree to contribute to the chat regularly. Then in terms of individual goals, these are obviously going to be personal. I do encourage the students to write them down for themselves so that they can review them over time, they can modify them if necessary, and it's just good practice for them to do that. So students come up with things like, I'd like to learn 3 to 6 new words, vocabulary words a week, and I'm going to try to use those in the live session. Or they might say, I'm going to read an article each week about the topic that we're going to discuss. This will help them feel more knowledgeable about the topic, and it's also a way for them to start to collect new vocabulary. And they also might prepare answers to some of the questions that are going to be presented in the live session. This is also a way for them to develop confidence, work on their vocabulary, and just helps them feel more prepared. So moving on to the second part of the video, which is how do we keep students engaged? So the first thing I would recommend is that we need to ensure as facilitators that we create a safe and friendly environment for students so that they feel supported and comfortable sharing their ideas. Another thing that's important for us is to be organized. So we should put things in the chat in a timely fashion, reminders about meetings, about the topics, the questions, and we should also put interesting topics, not just topics, but also interesting links or just interesting things in general in the chat in a regular fashion. And then another thing that we could do is we could ask students to put questions in the chat themselves, questions for the live session. I'm actually doing that now quite successfully with a group, and they take turns to do it, and it makes them feel more invested in the group, and it seems to be working quite well with them taking turns doing that. Finally, there are some other resources that you could use. Actually, I would say that the format that we discussed in the first video of questions and answers works really well, but you may just reach the point where you feel like doing something different, or the students feel like that too. So you could, for instance, ask them to read an article or watch a video that you can find in the handbook on the ENGin site. There are many amazing resources right there at our fingertips. And you could use those as a point of discussion and for developing questions. Another thing you could do is the students could discuss an ethical dilemma. And for this kind of thing, you could look at the New York Times, where there's a section called The Ethicist. And there are all kinds of real life situations that present ethical dilemmas, and students sometimes enjoy that. And finally, you could have the students do a debate. You could divide them into 2 groups of 2, and you could look at a site that is titled 80 Debates for ESL Students. And they could each take a certain point of view, the two pairs, and they could learn how to respectfully disagree, how to present appropriate arguments, how to present information and be persuasive. So I hope you have a chance to try some of these ideas and have fun.